Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another exciting update, XR update, that is, and another exciting episode of the XR Update podcast. Thank you for joining us. My name is Alex Moland. I often go by Alex VR in our amazing virtual reality community. And it is a pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining. 2 weeks in a row with XR Update episodes. I absolutely love it. It's nice to be back on the horse, so to speak, and producing more episodes for everyone. Things are busy over here at Impact Reality, Impact Inked, and Flat to VR Studios. There is a lot going on over here, and all of us are staying incredibly busy, as I just said. But it's a lot of fun, and we have a lot of amazing projects in the works that we are so excited to eventually reveal. But today is not the day for those reveals, as you can see from the thumbnail. Today we're going to be talking about Audio Trip, and we'll be hearing from the developers over at Kinemotik Studios, talking about the new DLC for Audio Trip, the Neon Disco DLC. And I'm very excited. Dear friends of mine over there at Kinemotik Studios, which I always struggle to pronounce properly for some reason. But before we introduce today's guests, I thought it would be a good idea to swing by the XR Update X account, XR Update X Twitter account, and pull a couple of news updates for us to quickly touch on so everybody knows what is going on. The first one that I wanted to get to today is talking about the Meta's plans for new retail stores. A few years ago, when they opened their first retail store in Burlingame, Skiva and I, from Between Realities and Upload VR, we went out there and did some press coverage. We went around interviewing people and capturing footage of it. It was kind of like an exclusive opening event, and it was pretty awesome. But it was on the Meta campus, so it's not really the perfect place for a rando to stroll in and start messing around with VR gear. But it looks like they are going to expand, especially as they continue to push forward with all of these smart glasses stuff with the Meta Ray-Bans, and as Apple and Google are ramping up their efforts to join the space for both of these things, for VR headsets and for smart glasses. New locations would showcase Ray-Ban Meta glasses, of course, and upcoming wearables aiming to boost hardware sales. I think this is a great idea. It really wasn't until I got my hands on VR that I knew that this was the real deal. And it wasn't until I had a chance to try the glasses for myself that I was completely sold on them. Like when they did the limited edition transparent lenses for the Meta Ray-Bans, I kind of got FOMO, and I was like, okay, even if they're not that great, I still want the limited edition ones. So I went ahead and bought them, hoping that I would use them. And if you are out there and you're like, oh, are those Meta Ray-Bans pretty awesome? Are they worth it? Yeah, they are super awesome. I tried to adapt the smartwatch to my life at some point, and I just couldn't do it. I kept looking at my phone to check the time instead of my watch, which I had on my wrist at all times, and I just wasn't able to integrate it into my space. But now, anytime I leave the house and I would wear a watch, I actually wear my glasses. And they're amazing for capturing footage on the fly, asking questions, listening to audio while still keeping your ears open, because they kind of use bone conduction audio stuff there. The Meta Ray-Ban glasses are awesome, and you may have a chance to try them on for yourself at an upcoming Meta store, which, again, if this is near you and you're interested, I highly recommend you check them out. Just the audio alone is enough to blow your mind, but all the AI features and the cameras capturing first-person perspective of your everyday life hands-free is completely awesome. So shout out Meta. Thanks for, pushing our industry forward by any means necessary. And thanks for making the glasses, because I actually really love them, and hopefully people have a chance to try them soon. The other update I wanted to touch on too, one that's, a little near and dear to my heart. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Empire City is coming to MetaQuest. It is the first official Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles VR game, and it is going to be here next year in 2026. It's going to be first-person combat with 4-player co-op, and it will have a story that is written by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles writer Tom Waltz. Completely awesome. I love the 4-player co-op Ninja Turtles games. It seems like a no-brainer to pull that social experience, that fun experience with friends of just running through the city and beating up on the Foot Clan. I personally wouldn't even hate seeing a game like this come out not first person. Like people always talk about like, oh, this is like Mortal Kombat in VR, but then it's a first person game and you're throwing punches. Like Mortal Kombat in VR would be like a D-pad and like button combos to me. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't even hate like a third person, like controlling the turtles, like from an eye in the sky kind of view instead of a first person. But, I know as well as anyone that first person is basically the dream, I guess, perspective for a virtual reality experience because you're so embodied. So it does make sense that the first one would be a first person perspective here. So either way, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming to VR is fantastic. Frankly speaking, they go anywhere. I think it's pretty easy to get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles license at this point. I see damn near every single video game out there coming out with some kind of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles DLC. But the Turtles are awesome, so who cares? That's great. I absolutely love it. And I will absolutely play in the crap out of this game, probably with my buddy Jay Dunn. Shout out Jay Dunn, because he and I play games together, and I feel like this is the perfect game for us. So there you go. Anyway, both of those news updates came from XR Update on X, formerly known as Twitter. Link in the description below. Please follow along and stay tuned for the latest in XR. Okay, well, with that, I think it's about time to introduce today's guest. And before I do, in good old XR Update fashion, I would like you to take a look at this.
Now move your body, it's just a beat.
Audio Trip Neon Disco DLC is here, and joining us today on XR Update is Brady and Cooper from Kinemotik Studios, developers of Audio Trip. Hello, my dear friends. How are you?
Hey, it's good to see you again.
As they say in Albania, Përshëndetje. Greetings.
As they say in Albania, and I guess we might as well just call it out, folks. I'm pretty sure that background is not AI generated. I kind of think that's the real deal.
Yeah.
This is Saranda, Albania. There's Corfu, Greece. We live
the island here is Corfu, Greece.
We've lived here for
for how long?
About four and a half years now.
Yeah.
4.5 years? Holy crap.
Yeah.
Have I known you guys that long? That seems insane.
I think we've known you for like 3 years, maybe.
What is time?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's amazing. I'm super jealous. How do you do that? Do you just say like, oh yeah, let's go to Greece, and then you just go? Like, how long did it take you to kind of figure out how to move to another country?
First, you meet someone on a dating app. Then you quit your career as an architect. Then you start a company together, and then you put all your stuff in storage and move to Europe.
Right. That's pretty much
how step-by-step
process. Steps.
Right.
Well,
we came here during COVID. Long story, but we were only going to stay a couple months, and we ended up finding this place. And the food, the weather, the people, everything is amazing, and it is very affordable. So that is why this whole
my wife and I, we found out recently that we have to move really soon. And I was like, oh, so, we know some people in Albania. Like, that would maybe be cool to go out there.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. I'm so excited that we've finally had an opportunity to sit down and do a podcast like this together. Is it? I don't know. I feel like it's safe to say you guys are OGs in the VR space. Like, is it safe to say that? Like, can we say that now?
No, if it's safe or dangerous, let's say it.
You guys are OGs. Like Audio Trip has been here from the beginning, at least for me. You know, it's like kind of like one of those OG rhythm games, and you're still here. You're still making DLCs. You're still working on it. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Like, did you think you'd still be working on this game years down the line?
I mean, yes and no. I guess you don't when you I guess we've been doing it for what, 7 years?
7 years.
7 since we started.
Yeah, we
But
concepted it late 2018 when nothing else was around like it.
no,
Except like,
it was like late 2017.
was
Yeah.
it? And there was like Audio
Yeah,
Shield
no, we started
and
we started the company together in early 2018.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was like when you're thinking about it like that, you don't think about like, I'm going to do this for the next 7 years of my life or something, or 8 years, 10 years. At the same time, though, I think we knew any game like this is kind of a platform. You know, it's not just a game in the sense of like, you know, let's say some narrative sort of game where you play it and you get to the beginning and then you finish it to the end and that's it. You know how it begins and ends and that's it.
Yeah.
But a game like this, obviously, it's an activity and you can always put more content into that activity. You can always put more songs, more choreographies, more modes, more features and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess we kind of, in the back of our minds, we knew that's what we were building. So I guess we're not too surprised that's
right. Well, yeah, to your point, this is like an activity, you know, and it's music and it's dance and it's a way to participate in both of those things without like fully committing to one or the other. You know, you're like kind of playing along, but you're dancing at the same time and you're, you know, as expressive in it as you want to be. And to me, it's very much like playing an instrument, you know, like games like this, in my opinion, like just never can't get boring. Like they can't. Like that's like saying like, you know, like talking to a guitar player who's been playing guitar for 40 years and be like, dude, don't you get bored of guitar?
Don't you get bored of music?
No, it's a way of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. I didn't know that I would be working on one game for 7 years, but I also didn't know I'd do anything but architecture before I met him. And then I was dancing since I was 3, you know, and professionally, competitively on the side of architecture. And one day he had this idea when he came back from the gym hearing, was it Red?
Yeah, by Raphael Frost.
Which is in our game, and it was what inspired the whole game. And he was like, I had this awesome idea. I don't know, it pumped me up and I just wanted to move. And it's like, you know, when I hear a song like that, I want to dance. And he's like, I know, but I haven't had, you know, the whole life of the moves, the training, the sort of like proprioception, that what to do, this kind of tool house of just to automatically move my body to feel the music and express myself in that way. And I was like, I wish I could get like what's inside me, inside you, you know? So we had this little session where he basically just told me to dance and then recorded me and sort of reverse engineered how I moved to this. Like, how do we get people to do this with just a head and hands in VR?
Yeah, we looked at her movements and we thought, okay, so let's distill this down to certain types of movements, and how do we create gameplay elements that encourage a person to do those movements, but then also like leave enough room for personal interpretation and expression and that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And the thing is that like I'm not a dancer, you know, didn't have that background.
Everyone's a dancer.
Anyway. And she's been a dancer her whole life. And so I think it was kind of like the perfect combination, because like I'm somebody who's always wanted to be able to do this kind of thing and to feel it. Well, it's sort of like how Guitar Hero like makes you feel like you're playing the guitar, and you get to have that role play and that fantasy, live out that fantasy. And I wanted something like that with dance, you know, with music and physical movement. And so it was a perfect combination of backgrounds, I think, because she's coming at it from the perspective of someone who knows dance inside and out, and I'm coming from the perspective of somebody who's always aspired to that, but doesn't know anything about it. So I can say like, here's what I know. Here's what a person who doesn't know anything. This is where I am. You know, this is how I'm coming at it, and she is coming at it from her experienced perspective. And so there's like, I feel like we've kind of got both sides covered in how we let people who have no experience or aptitude, perhaps, for dance starting out at least, go into the game and have that experience, you know,
Right.
and feel like that's what they're
That's
doing.
so great.
And it
That's
was
so great.
cool to like have VR to be able to design something like that, because you know you can think of probably multiple games off the top of your head that try to get you to dance in some way by a conventional like dance class where you're watching someone and you're having to mirror their movements or watch yourself in the mirror and kind of map what they're doing, think about it cognitively, and then put it into your body and then express it out. So it's like this input output thing. And in VR, I just actually place an object here and an object here. And it's like, now put your hand here in space, and you're there with the object, and you are now doing that move. You don't have to even think of it. So you just follow along, you match colors, and you end up moving like I moved. And then you feel it inwardly. You don't have to think about it so much. So by the end of it, you're like, I am a dancer. I'm doing this, and I feel really good.
We used to play, I think, and maybe it was before we started working on Audio Trip, I don't remember. We used to play some Xbox Connect games, and it was
like Just
it was
Dance,
probably Just Dance, or
maybe?
we probably played Just Dance and Dance Central. Both of those are watching a character on screen do the move, and you're mirroring it. And I played that with my friends before, and I was not very good at it because it was really hard to like remember the moves and like, because like you watch the other person do it. Yeah, I can repeat that, but it's like I can repeat that like a whole second later. And by that time, I'm like way behind the beat of the music, you know, because like it takes all this time for it to process.
Like you struggle to know if you're actually doing the move that you should be doing, because you couldn't actually feel any feedback. That's why like the haptic feedback in our game is so amazing.
But we played it together one time because she has all this experience watching other people and emulating their movements as a trained dancer. So when we played it together, like you were just completely dominating me, like
crushing everybody.
I was so amazed. Like she could watch the characters and she's following them in real time, like perfectly in a move that she hasn't even seen them do before.
Yeah, I do think that comes with years and like a lifetime of experience of having some mirror neurons just fire like crazy. Like I could mimic someone moving as they're doing
like
it
in real time. Yeah. So anyway, I was just astonished at that. And so I was like, see, this is why our game needs to be something different, because people like me cannot keep up. Like we can't do that at all. Like it's just not, we don't have that experience. So VR gives you a kind of a unique opportunity to guide people's movement in a way that's way more approachable and intuitive to those types of people than the other. However, we did want to have that, because obviously like having points that you're trying to reach for in VR, it's kind of like a low resolution way to visualize what you're supposed to do. So we also have Goldie. That's why we put Goldie in the game, which is mocapped her dancing. And so that way you also see a person moving and doing the dance. So you can see the nuances too. You can see the flavor, all that flavor that goes into the subtleties of the movement. That's there. And that's why
mostly there. Caveat on that, because Goldie is going to be in all of the choreography, all 168 of them now included, that I have choreographed over the last 7 years, which is crazy to say, with the help of one player who helped us. OK Display, I have to give a shout out to him because he helped on the Swanky song pack DLC. And I collaborated with him on that. But besides that, yeah, I've solely done all 168 choreographies. So I feel like I really got it down at this point. People seem to like it, but it is weird. It's a unique skill to have that, like I can choreograph for this game, because it is different than in person, but it is, I think, like a really cool tool to get people to feel dance within their bodies.
Hell yeah! I appreciate that you've got the like the trademark Goldie hairdo for the episode right now as well. Like that means a lot to me and to the viewers. I mean,
like this is Goldie does a podcast.
I've been having so many thoughts while you guys are talking about all this stuff. Like there's so much to unpack with what you guys are touching on right now. I think VR is beautiful in the way that like it actually can begin the process of you becoming whatever it is that you're simulating in VR. And in this case, it's dancing. Like if you start playing Audio Trip, and here's one of the things I love about Audio Trip. Audio Trip, more than any other rhythm game, really does have you feeling like you're dancing. You know, like I find expression in Beat Saber when I'm playing it, you know, like I feel good. So I'm like expressing myself through the movement. Same with Synth Riders and all these other games. And they are in a way trying to get you to dance a little bit, but not like Synth Riders, or I mean, not like Audio Trip. Audio Trip really has this like, to your point, it's choreographed, like actual dance choreography within the music. And you know, playing the Neon Disco DLC, like you are literally doing disco moves. You know, there's like multiple moments where I feel like I'm doing this thing. You know, like the arrow and you know diagonal arrow, whatever that move is called. And I feel like.
Yeah, there is. It sounds like Western to me. So you kind of do this like kind of lasso thing with the ribbon.
Yeah, it's so great. And like when I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater as a kid, I was like, holy crap, this game is so awesome. I love this. I'm gonna go buy a skateboard. I feel like I'm a skateboarder now. So I went out and tried to do a kickflip, and I was not anywhere closer to being a skateboarder after playing Tony Hawk than before. But that's not the case with something like Audio Trip. Like you could get into this and like your body rigidly is attacking these like, you know, geometric shapes in the space, and you like are slowly kind of like breaking all this rust that you have like in that area. And then after a handful of sessions, you are literally 2, 3, 4, 5 steps closer to being like a legitimate dancer. You know, kind of like Guitar Hero too. I honestly feel like Guitar Hero is like a gateway drug for becoming a musician. You're learning like hand dexterity, you're learning timing, like you are on your way.
Yeah. Yeah, I really am glad that you said that, because that is one of our main mottos. It's been my motto in architecture and remains similar for creating games now, is to create an experience that allows you to realize that you have more potential than you thought. So it breaks you out of your own box that you've put yourself in. And we had a lot of players early on when we started showing the game at like South by Southwest, different conventions like 2018. And people were like, no, you need to maybe make it easier, make it smaller. I can't reach the gems. And I would film them and show them like they think that they're stretching their arms completely out, but they're actually just doing this. Maybe they had never, like maybe they hadn't done that in a very long time. Or like when I say put your hands up, I don't mean this. I mean this, like all the way. And unless you really feel that and you really feel your body do that, you just don't know. You might think that you already are. And
yeah, that's when it really starts to feel significant, is when you actually like you said, like you break that rust off, you know, you go outside of that. I want to say comfort zone. It's not that it's uncomfortable, right?
It's like normal range of movement.
Yeah.
You know, like never are you expressing yourself with your body in such a way.
Yeah, but it feels really good. And actually, so that goes back to kind of, this was a partial inspiration, I guess you could say, for Audio Trip, or at least for the principle behind Audio Trip. And that was, I was at a very early VR convention. I can't remember the name of it. It was in San Jose, I think. And it was back in 2015. And they were doing a demo of, it was using an Xbox Kinect, because at the time, I don't think they even had Vive wands. So it was using a Kinect, using like the point cloud or like the skeletal generation to do like pose recognition, body pose recognition. And it was like a Discs of Tron sort of demo. It was a really cool demo, but it was also very simple. And it was multiplayer. And you would just do these 2 gestures. You do like this throwing gesture where you throw in a disc, and then you do a blocking gesture to block the disc when it's coming at you. And so I played it for like maybe 3 minutes or something like that. It was not a very long demo. And so I was just, you know, like doing this kind of thing and then blocking. And then when the demo was over, I wonder, it was probably like 15 or 30 minutes later, I was sitting in a talk, and I just realized, like, wow, I feel really good for some reason. Why is that? And I thought back, and I realized that it was the poses, like the like adopting power poses and like doing powerful movements, and like you kind of like open your chest up and do this thing that I felt like a superhero or something. And it was I was embodying that character in my movements and in my posture. And that had this lingering psychological effect, a positive psychological effect for me, many minutes later after I'd stopped playing the game. And I only played the game for a few minutes. So that stuck with me. Like, that is one of the big potentials for VR to coax you into certain positions or in certain movements that can actually like have positive psychological effects. And since then, I've done a lot of digging to find some like research papers that kind of support these ideas. And I'm working on a talk that I want to do at a conference one of these days about that, because I think there's a lot of research to show that VR has that kind of potential. It can be like really, really used to good effect. And that's what we try to weave into Audio Trip.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like, and I mean, like, what about if I go into Blade and Sorcery and have like a 45-minute murder session? Like, and I get out of that feeling like all cathartic and stuff. Like, do we need to worry about that, or like, is it okay for me to feel good after that?
You might feel good because you moved your body around, but also you might start to think like, maybe I don't feel so great about murdering people.
I mean, the metaphor, like the concrete pit material and the metaphor behind it, that is like a separate layer. But as far as just the body position, I mean, that's why like when you go to the gym and you do certain types of movements, and that's another thing that I learned. Like when I first started going to the gym and doing certain types of exercise, I loved doing certain types of exercise, and I boiled it down and realized that the reason was because there were these certain movements that like made me kind of imagine that I was this powerful person.
Mm-hmm.
Some types of movements don't necessarily do that. But certain ones like made me feel, and I guess it's the ones that kind of like make you open your body up or like reach really far, like that full extension.
Expansive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you take up more space, and
you are that powerful person. It's not just that you're pretending.
And you feel like I'm important, I matter, I can take up space, I belong.
You are embodying that feeling. Like you are becoming that feeling in it. Like, because there's certainly like submissive postures, like you could take a submissive posture with your body and like you are then submissive in that moment. You know what I mean? Because you're adopting the posture of it.
Yeah.
So with Audio Trip, we really wanted to do those kinds of things that make you feel open, like you're taking up space and you're like you belong here, and you don't have to shrink down, you don't have to be afraid. You can be bold and be big.
Yeah,
I really love that.
Why I always start choreography with the regular choreography level. That's to me like kind of the standard of this is the choreography, and you can find your flow through it, and you can add your flair between the beats, and it's not so prescriptive. And then I'll make it easier for beginner to step into it, and remove a lot of the beats. So it's like single beat, and make sure that you start a crossover on the same side hand till you go to the other. There are no ducks. You actually just lean to get used to the barriers, things like that. And then I make it much harder for the tryhards, basically the people who chase the leaderboards. It's more prescriptive and it's much faster.
Higher cognitive load.
Right.
Yeah, maybe more of like a gaming challenge than like a expressive dancing, like, because that's one of the problems I always had with like, I played a lot of Beat Saber especially when I first got into VR. And that was the problem I had with like the Expert Plus songs, is that they're so technically challenging that it leaves little room for expression.
Right. Yeah. I remember I've played it, and I also have been a judge in a couple competitions throughout the years for these, like for Val and different athletic leagues with all the rhythm games and stuff. And I'll watch, there's like a category for expression. And it really, like, people do struggle when it gets so prescriptive. You have to do exactly what the game is telling you to do. And so we have that, if you really want to challenge yourself. But really, the regular is where I play it. I love it. Nice. And I think that's where you could just follow me and not have to worry about not knowing whatever move you need to come up with if you don't just naturally feel, the song necessarily. And you feel it through my movements, and then you get to know the song more in your body. And hopefully the environments help you, even if you don't actually have time to look at them or really take them in. We made the environments particular for every song since the very beginning, and that's coming from my architecture background too. But we wanted to just, in every sense we could, infuse the music into your body, like auditory,
your
visual,
senses, all your senses. Yeah.
all the senses. And so you really like feel what that song is trying to be. And and by the end of it, you're like, whoa, okay, I can do this. I can do way more than I thought that I could.
But that is great.
Speaking of difficulty levels, so you have the beginner, regular, and expert we talked about. It wasn't originally part of the game, but of course we've added it in like 3 years ago or something like that. Now it's part of every song that's in the game, and that's the cardio mode or a cardio level. So when you do cardio, it's actually a higher physical ask compared to the others, but it is a lower cognitive load. So it's not so much that like difficult mind puzzle thing, like trying to figure out like left, right, and all that. It's a lot easier to follow, but it asks more of you physically as far as like reaching further, ducking lower, and like squats and lunges and things like that. So it's a lot more physical. It's really, really good for a workout. And that's something that
it's focused on aerobic, cardiovascular.
Yeah, and we realized that like very early on that playing this game was a workout, right? It was a very physical thing. It was great for exercise, and a lot of people encouraged us to like really lean in on that angle, but we didn't want to make it just an exercise game. We wanted to make a dance game. It's something that you do because you want to, because it's fun. And if you get fit as a result of that, if you burn a lot of calories or whatever, you get your heart rate up. That's just a wonderful side effect of that. And
it's not like you must work out and go to the gym and eat your vegetables. Like
and it's worked out really well. In fact, we just learned, I think within this last week, from one of our players said that the game has helped him lose 300 pounds.
He's been playing with Lily for years, and it's been part of his weight loss journey, losing 300 pounds. I just tweeted about this today. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, insane.
Well, I feel like I have to like draw some parallels here to martial arts at this point, because it's something that I've been like kind of thinking about this entire time. But like now, especially like when you say that like the getting in shape is kind of like the icing on the cake, that's legitimately what like I used to do martial arts, and that was like what my martial arts journey was like. Like I'm there because of the spiritual practice, and like the side effect is you're learning a self-defense system and you're getting in shape. You know what I mean? But you're there because of something higher than that, something that like you have a deep connection to, that you like want to participate in, which I think is amazing. Also, most martial arts are taught with like that mirror method that you guys are talking about. Like the teacher stands in front of you and he starts to move, and then you start to move like him, and then he walks over and like adjusts your elbow and like moves your hand and like lowers your hips, and like adjusts you, and then goes back up front, and you're like mirroring him the whole time. So this is coming from somebody who practiced martial arts for years. And I'm not really what I would call a dancer. I have been a musician in my time, but certainly not really a dancer. But like the point I want to make here is that there are enough parallels here to martial arts to where like if you think that like dancing isn't for you or whatever, but maybe martial arts is, then you maybe can check this out like from that perspective, and like think about it like from those power positions like Brady's touching on right now, like embody some of that power and like train on this thing a little bit, and you don't have to, it's like not just like for dancers, you know what I mean? Like it has a wide appeal.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's been like from the very beginning, like how do we summarize this game in a single like sentence elevator pitch style? From 7 years ago, we were thinking about this, and it's still hard because it's not like, okay, go to dance class and do 1-2 step, 1-2 step. It's like, no, feel the music in your body, and you're gonna feel like a badass when you do this.
Yes.
And you go good.
Right. I mean, like there were songs that I've presented to him, and I was like, I want to put this in audio chip. I'm really feeling it. I love it. I'm gonna choreograph it. And he's like, I don't like this song. And then you played it, and you're like,
yeah, I'd never experienced this before. It was new for me, and I didn't know this was possible. But just because of the choreography that she made for it, I actually liked the song. I was like, actually, I now enjoy this song, and I didn't before. I actually just didn't like it before.
I feel like when you move a certain way to music that you hadn't before, you hear it in a different way.
Yeah,
so
totally. Well, you're participating. You're a part of it. You're not just like an observer. You are participating in the song.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was a really interesting experience. I'd never experienced that before.
Yes, you might be happily surprised.
So I'm curious. We're gonna wrap this up here pretty soon, but I am curious. How has the like choreography process changed since the beginning? Because I find it fascinating that you like recorded yourself moving and then like turned that into the choreography. Like at this point, do you like know the game well enough where you can kind of just go in and place the pieces, or do you still like get up and like free flow dance and then kind of capture some of those movements?
Well, I'm glad you asked because we have an NVR editor that we've made from the very beginning. Even before we put a single build out there, Brady made an in-game tool for me to use. So I've always choreographed everything in VR. I want it to be as close to like the end product as possible. So I'll be in VR in the game in our editor, which is in the game. You can go to custom and edit any of my choreographies, duplicate them, grab moves out of them, put your own songs in there, create choreography. We have a huge custom choreography Discord. They made their own website. They have, I think, like hundreds of songs. I don't know what they're up
Many
to
hundreds,
now.
yeah.
Anyway, so that's what I use and still use that. I go in there and I'll start with like single beats probably and just play the song, and you can hold down the trigger and just put gems. Those are like just our normal touch objects. And I'll just start like kind of dancing, do some move, kind of feeling it. And we can do bookmarks now in editor. So I'll put bookmarks like, here's the chorus, I want to repeat that, which is like, that's where the choreography comes in, as opposed to when we started this, like the only things out there were procedural, and I want them to actually learn the move for the chorus and they get to repeat that move on the chorus, you know? So I'll put some moves down that I like, maybe 4 counts, 8 counts, whatever, copy those, make a snippet, paste it later, kind of just go from there. And I'll play it back, and then I'll do it, and then I'll play it back, I'll edit, I'll make some ribbons, I'll put more other things in there, put some drums on the big, you know, drops, things like that, those power moves, and the directional gems come in the upper levels. But like, if I really want to tell you, okay, go from this gem straight to this gem, like this way. So that's kind of
So you basically do like start out with like freestyling it.
Yeah, I do.
In that first pass, like see what you feel, and then you're just recording it in kind of a just once a beat, so it's like low resolution capture of that, and then you start filling it in from there. I
feel like that has to be unique in the rhythm mapping space. You know, like do you think Beat Saber mappers are getting up and like swinging their arms and being like, oh yeah, that felt good. Let's figure out what that path is. You know, like
it's great that you asked that, because to us, like the philosophy from the beginning has been that like from start to finish, the choreography should be coming from your body, right? Like you should be expressing it with your body. That's how it needs to begin, and that's how it ends. We didn't want to make a desktop editor because we didn't want any part of that process to just be purely mental, without including the body in that and in that decision process and that creative process. So that's why from the very beginning, I made an editor that was in VR, and we've stuck with that. That's like and I feel like that is kind of the reason why, part of the reason why the game feels the way it does.
Like I have standards now that I've developed over doing this for so many years, and I know that like certain values of, you know, the point in space is like a full reach extension, and it's not going to go further than that unless I want you to actually step to the side and get it for certain moves and stuff, or like what's too high or too low. It's all scaled, so I do it. I'm 4'11.5", or what?
Don't forget that.
4'11.5" heard.
5 on a good day. I think that's 151 centimeters. Man, I've been in Europe
145,
now.
I think.
I don't think that's right either.
Oh.
It's something.
Well, oh no, 145 is where your headset is, because I know it's in the game. Like it's hard coded.
Nice.
Regardless, it is scaled to.
Hey, by the way, I just want to say I thank you for making me get my hands out of the way of the barriers. I feel like every game like this, like as long as you get your head out of the way, you're good. And it like makes me lazy, to be honest, you know, and like having to get your controllers out of the way too, like really makes you like move out of the way of that thing. You know what I mean? So it's small and it's subtle, but it actually matters. And yeah, I think
it does. And that first time you encounter a barrier that makes you actually shift your weight, and then you remember your feet and you start to step, as you're moving,
Yes.
you're like, ooh, I have more of my body to use and play with.
That's
but
right.
I was gonna say, so while I'm choreographing, I really just, I do it in VR. That's how I do it. And then I will play it back and play it back and play it back. So I'm always polishing as I'm going and then feeling it. And then I'll play through the course again. I'm like, that's not right. Until basically I'll play it through all the way. I'm like, okay, I think this is it. And I will just play and dance it all out all the way through. And if I start to get goosebumps, I'm like, it's
That's
red.
the indicator.
And I will say, like, this is a true story. This last DLC, I choreographed one of them and I played through and I was like, this one is so good. And then I stopped, I took my headset off, I ran over to Brady and I was like, I think I just choreographed the best choreography in the entire game.
Hell yeah.
It is in this DLC.
And I played it and I was like, yeah, I think you might be right. Like, it's really good.
And now
everybody's been saying that.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this one. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm not going to say
it
what people to.
And when we've been asking, like, okay, which one was your favorite? Like, everybody's always saying the same things. Like, they all feel that same one.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. So when out, if you're listening right now, go get the Audio Trip DLC and play these new songs and experience for yourself the best choreography that the game has ever had, and then come and tell us which song it is, because it sounds like everybody is pretty much going to agree on which song is best. But we'll let the crowd speak for themselves. So is there anything else that we haven't had a chance to get to, like anything that you wanted to mention that you think is important that we say before we start to wrap this thing up? No pressure.
That's a good question.
I mean, I feel like we've been working and talking about this game, which has been like our biggest passion for basically our entire relationship, and the two of us are pretty much the sole team. We've had contractors over the years help us, but it's been our passion and our baby. And so, yes, it is definitely still very much alive. We're definitely still working on it more. When I read responses like that one, the guy that popped in and said that it's helped him lose 300 pounds, or people are playing this every day for years for their workout, or like they played it and they got through chemotherapy playing our game. Thank you so much. Like, I'm just crying reading reviews.
Those types of, when we hear from players about things like that, like that's just it doesn't even have to be something dramatic like losing 300 pounds or getting through chemotherapy. Just the joy that they express to us, that is what keeps us going. Like, that's why we're able to do it for 7 years, because it's like that brings meaning to what we do. So
yeah, and we're not. And I already know kind of the genre of the next DLC that I was just
gonna say, what's coming next? Like, what can you tell us? Apparently you're working on another DLC. That's great news.
Yes. I think that people are ready to let some real emotion and possible like rage out. It's gonna have a lot of drums. Don't say that.
Here we go.
Really
also, we can say that Goldie is going to be fully in all of the OST songs.
Yes.
In the coming future.
We got a new mocapping suit, and I have a lot of mocapping to do.
Yeah, it would have been in there already, but there was the only one that really worked well for us was this one particular package we had, and it was subscription based. And then Apple bought the company that had made it, and they removed it from sale. So then we couldn't even renew our subscription to it, and so the software just stopped working, and we had no way to get the same type of mocap again. So we've been looking, and we just never found one that was satisfactory. And so now we finally have like a decent motion capture suit, and we're ready to bring her fully back into the game again. So we're excited about that. That's gonna be a good one.
Hell yeah. Well, this is so exciting. Congratulations on the release of the new DLC, guys. And just for years and years of bringing an amazing VR game to the community. Thank you very much for all that you guys do for our space. And thank you for joining me today. This has been so great. It's been just awesome to sit down and just talk about Audio Trip and talk about you guys and your journey, and a true pleasure and an honor. Appreciate it.
We love chatting with you and chatting about our game. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was great. Thanks again for joining us. And with that, we'll go ahead and say goodbye to Brady and Cooper from Kinemotik Studios. Thanks again. And don't be strangers. Let's do this again.
Okay.
Love to.
Bye.
All right. And bye. Boom. And just like that, they're gone. We get rid of people quickly around here. It's easy. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Audio Trip is a fantastic game. Link in the description below. If you do not already own this game, you can pick it up. Or if you do, brand new DLC from some incredibly passionate and well-intentioned developers. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Please like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on X at the XR Update Twitter account. We'll go ahead and call it Twitter. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks again. My name is Alex Milland. Alex VR, as I am often referred to as, and we will see you guys again for another episode in the hopefully near future. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.